Hello everybody, this is Chris and welcome back to the 6th episode of our Kameo commentary. We are going to turn into a rather festive Deep Blue. He's dressed up as an embarrassing dad for the holidays, complete with a paper crown on his head and the awful sweater that he just won't take off. And we're going to use his missiles to open the door, let our new friend here escape with us to freedom, and head on back to Mountain Falls and into the Water Temple so that we can rescue Lenia. Because some, well, heroes don't get vacations. Yes, I do like being dry. And what a good idea. Why don't I use my new warrior to interact with the previously untouchable thing right next to him. There he is, Deep Blue in all his glory. Yes, he's even got the hilarious comedy nose and glasses from a cracker. We'll use his jet of water, open the door, and that will provide us with a shortcut if we ever want to come back to Mountain Rise and have a little look around. But with that done, it's time for us to look at the big, imposing waterfall. It's not that imposing because all these people are just sort of happily swimming around and dallying in it, so they're blissfully unaware of the horrors that lie underneath its surface. This wiggly rock, by the way, you can flip that with Pummelweed, but I'll let you discover what's under there for yourself. Yes, thank you, author. I've explained this already. This is Christmas Pummelweed. A Yuletide Ash. These were all part of the Winter Warrior pack, which is bundled with the Rare Replay version, so you can enjoy playing as festively garbed warriors as well. So, the Water Temple is fairly straightforward. We've got some submarines to deal with, we've got some fire trolls that we'll meet in a moment. I'm going to briefly touch upon those as we get there. There's Callus. Given that Callus can fly, we always seem to be only a few minutes behind her. She's obviously dilly-dallying. Right, let's take out this boat. I am going to go slightly off topic for a while, and we're going to talk about Meepo. Get lots of questions about Meepo, so the time has come to solve the mystery of a little purple critter. For those who aren't familiar, Meepo was a dragon sidekick who was spotted alongside Kameo in the GameCube and Xbox versions of the game, but he's not in the Xbox 360 release. And in fact, he wasn't in the very early GameCube releases either. He, the first time Kameo was on show at E3, she would actually use a large rainbow magic ring to capture the baby monsters instead. When Meepo was introduced, he took over that role. People would see footage, or if you were lucky enough to go to E3, actually play versions of the game where when you were capturing a baby, you would grab Meepo, he would kind of charge himself up, and then you would fling Meepo at the warrior, or the baby monster as it was then. Let's come out of the water and get ready for a fight. Fire imps may have been the bane of our existence at Thorn's Castle, but now that we've got a watery monster like Deep Blue on our side, they're going to get some. They're going to get what's coming to them as we get some revenge for all of the beatings and grenadings that they've given us over the years. So, poor old Meepo then. Yes, he was instrumental in catching the baby monsters, and he was also almost a counterpoint, a comedic counterpart to Ortho. The two of them would not have gotten along very well at all. And Callus had her own sidekick as well, a nasty kind of lizard creature called Creepo, and there would be a couple of occasions where Meepo and Creepo obviously wouldn't get along, but there would be some instances where Callus would actually use magic on Meepo and he would become a real threat and something that almost like a mini-boss that you'd have to defeat along the way. Meepo, in terms of the story, would initially have been found as a statue out in the Enchanted Kingdom, and you can actually see, if you get some battle points and unlock the appropriate deleted scenes in the magic mirror, you can see two cutscenes involving Meepo. The first is Kameo freeing him. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, this big fire troll, he's also susceptible to... there we go. It's best not to touch him as Pummelweed when he's lit for obvious reasons, because you... Ah, ow, ow. You go on fire, although you can very briefly hit him while he's extinguished. Buyer beware. Fire beware. Right. Fire troll is dispatched, this water wheel is uncovered, and we can start it a-spinning to raise the tower and continue through the water temple. There we go. So yes, there's two cutscenes involving Meepo. The first is where Kameo frees him from a statue, and he promptly thanks her by looking up and down and planting a big squidgy unwanted kiss on her, which sort of sets off the dynamic between the two of them. Kameo was kind of straight-laced and serious, and Meepo was the one who was going to be impulsive, inquisitive, and get the pair of them into trouble as often as not. So what happened to Meepo? Well, as the story started to evolve, and the babies were no longer things that you captured, turned into, and then evolved by kind of running around in your baby form looking for food, Meepo's purpose started to diminish. You no longer used him to catch the babies, so he was just kind of there. And on top of everything else, there was a shift in how we told the story. The GameCube and sort of early Xbox versions of Kameo used a lot of visual comedy. There was text in the game, but there were no plans for speech at the time, beyond hmms and other sound effects. And so, where am I going? Up here. Got a boat to take out. Ow. That boat would have just successfully shot me. Let's shoot it back. Yeah, the visual comedy involving Meepo was all very well and good, but he didn't talk, and it would have been really quite tricky to imagine a world where he and Ortho were bantering successfully when one of the characters was entirely reliant on visuals and kind of expressive visual language to show when they were sad or scared or happy, and Ortho, who of course is a book, and it's really hard to emote when you're a book, so all of his kind of grumpiness was came from words. Let's get Major Ruin. No, not Ash. Let's put Ash on that one and Major Ruin there. There we go. So Meepo hung around for a bit. He wasn't doing a huge amount, and then there was another problem as well, which was that Kameo's costume had changed in the meantime, and various other bits of the game had changed, and the cutscenes that he were in didn't make any sense anymore. So unfortunately, with all of those factors in play, Meepo bit the dust. There's a one... I'm just going to walk past these archers. Actually, no, I'm going to breathe fire on these archers. Let's give Ash a festive airing. Yes, you better run. As we head into here, we're going to need to switch back to Deep Blue, because this time the Fire Troll has brought along a buddy. So we've got twice the number of Fire Imps, and then two Fire Trolls to deal with, and there's some Plant Trolls around just to add some elemental carnage. For a while, Meepo was enshrined as a statue still in the Enchanted Kingdom, even though it was one that you couldn't really do anything with, and then there was even a time in the game where the final Crystal Eye, the one that is now in the Chamber of Living Portraits held in a thorn statue, was under his statue, and yeah, you needed to blow him up to get the Crystal Eye, but that was a bit cruel, even though most people would never have been aware that he was anything other than a lawn ornament. I can't actually remember why we removed the statue, but I have a feeling there might have been a last-minute bug to do with it. Like it was possible to get stuck on it or something with one of the warriors, and the solution, given that we were late on time, was, and the statue didn't do anything, was to remove it. But yeah, if you check out the Mystics cupboard, there's one last little glimpse of Meepo in the game, but other than that, you'll need to unlock the deleted scenes if you want to see Meepo in all of his purple glory. I believe he was going to get some character development later on that would have involved... there we go, I managed to free some blue water crabs, which will really do some damage to the fire trolls. Yeah, I believe that at one point there was a third elf character, a changeling named Calem, and by changeling I mean that he was going to have been raised as a troll, not that he was part of the founders ruling the Gamma Quadrants in Deep Space Nine. Just in case that had confused you. I know I'm very much riding the cultural zeitgeist with my Deep Space Nine references, but then again we are playing a game that's 10 years old. There we go, up comes my next tower. Yeah, Meepo was loosely going to have been responsible for the mix-up that would have seen Calem as an infant be either given to the trolls or taken by the trolls, and the first time Kameo meets him, poor old Calem is on horseback and actually has to wear a troll mask, a troll helmet, to hide what the trolls consider his horrible deformity. But he is an elf, he's never seen others of his kind before, so it's a really confusing moment for both him and Kameo the first time they encounter each other. But then when Calem was out in the mix, the last remnants of Meepo's impact upon the story, not quite sure why you'd give a comedy purple dragon responsibility for looking after your newborn son, but that's one plot hole I never had to work around, at least. Right, this is the final big fight before the water boss. This time we've got 2 boats and 2 submarines to deal with. So I'll take these out as quickly as possible, and then it's on to Corrales. Now, I know some people, and it's a situation that's, I think it's a problem that's exacerbated by the water boss itself. Some people find that Deep Blue's controls are awkward. Now, I think the thing to remember when you're dealing with Deep Blue is that unlike the other warriors and the camera looking up and looking down, Deep Blue doesn't respect your Y-axis settings. He's always kind of inverted. He always controls like he's a seaplane. Not a seaplane, because that's just a plane that can land on the water, but an underwater vehicle, shall we say. The majority of people on my team used to play with their Y-axis inverted anyway, so it was never that much of a problem. But I guess if you're used to if you're used to up being up, you can be in for a little bit of a shock and a little bit of a learning curve with Deep Blue. Deep Blue is also a really useful combo character. He can be upgraded to spray oil around the place, and as we'll see later on when we're talking about expert mode, the oil can then be ignited with ash and can be used to not only burn your enemies, but also the fire can be quite useful to heal you as well. It's another one of those little sort of elemental tidbits. Not really that necessary in the main game, because there's almost always a steady supply of hearts and elixirs and things on hand to give you your health back, but let's not crash into the mine. If you feel so inclined, you can also release those mines and try and hit the boats with them, but in this instance, good old-fashioned brute force is the way. And of course, if you want to make life easier, and this is probably something I should have done to begin with, I can always nip into the Whatnot book and upgrade Deep Blue's spirit, which will mean you've got more missile shots before you need to recharge, and that can mean the difference between an embarrassing cannonball to the face and success. You'll notice as a little handy bonus, it also refills your spirit bar when you upgrade it, so we can now... Come back, boats, come back. Yes, there we are. We have you now. On to the final sub. I'm just thinking, Deep Blue's wearing a woolly jumper and he's been underwater all day. That thing has got to be insanely heavy right now. Spam the buttons. Weapons to maximum. Other nautical things. Kaboom. There we are, with all patrols dispatched. The sunken door in the tower there is open. So let's swim through the lovely scenery and Up to the door. It's time to get out of this water and dry off, at least momentarily. There's different ways to get up here. So it is possible for Kameo to jump these holes. Ow. Use Ash to take him out. Ooh, easy now. We'll avoid the bombs for obvious explosive reasons. How did you guys get up here? This tower was underwater a minute ago. Oh. Let's not question things too deeply, eh? Instead, let's roll through here and go and face Corrales. Major Ruin, of course, decked out as a Christmas pudding. Which, if you're not familiar with them, is a very rich dish full of raisins and suet and bits of lemon rind, and we stick it in our box for 6 months and then bring it out on Christmas Day and set it on fire. It's a tradition, it doesn't have to make sense. Corrales has got an electric attack, which he will use thusly, and you want to be careful of touching the water when he's chasing you with it, because any water that it touches will also be electrified, so you want to avoid it, and then, using Major Ruin, smack a bomb into him, at which point he's going to go underwater, and we want to do as much damage to his tendrils as possible. And if you're quick like that, you can get 2 of them off in 1. He doesn't sit quite in the centre of the pool, so you might find, like he's over there at the moment for example, so you might find it's often easier to roll around to the side he's closest to, and that will give you a bit less distance to cover. Where's he going to settle down? He's going to settle down over there, I reckon. We've only got a couple of seconds before he starts his electric attack again. So we want to just carefully... La 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 la, you can't hurt me. Yeah, there we go, underwater again, and the question is, am I going to be quick enough? No, I'm not, is the answer. If you're really quick and very careful, you can... Nah, curses. Didn't quite get the final hit before he rose off, so it looks like it's going to be a 3rd round of bombs and lightning. But it is possible, and in my heyday I actually could pretty reliably kill him in just 2 hits. Which way are you going, boy? Oh, floaty thing of giantness. You'll notice that Kameo's hovering because that means she's not touching the water. She doesn't suffer any nasty electric consequences. Oh, electric consequences would be a good name for a band. Oh, I missed. Oh, electric consequences. Ow. You can also just, yeah, end Corrales' attack pattern quickly if you take a hit, but after 2 lightning bolts he's going to do what he's done here and move over to another area of the stage. Ow. Come on, trolls, give me another bomb, please. Oh, that's a wrong angle, but can we be lucky? We can be lucky. No time to waste. We're going to take out the last tentacle thingy. Kameo will presumably get out of the water during the cutscene. I'm not totally sure how she manages that, but it happens. And it was Lenya all along, or rather Lenya was being held inside Corrales, and now she's slightly soggy. And my reward from my loving aunt is a slow clap? I mean, what are you... Really? You're going to slow clap me? Well, that's despicable behaviour. I want an elemental warrior as my reward, please. I want Chiller. I'm going to have a quick look at Chiller. There he is. In fact, let's... The reason we'll have a quick look at Chiller now is because when we head back to the Badlands, another elemental shrine is going to come under attack, but we'll do that next episode. I'm going to rudely skip past what the Mystic has to say for herself. And there's Yeros. Final ancestor, as they were known, Kameo's family members. And he's being taken off to the lair of Queen Thyra in the Snowtop village area. Queen Thyra is a very fun boss with a very fun piece of music that accompanies her, but we'll see that another day. For now, let's have a little look at Chilla. Obviously we've seen Chilla before, we know what Chilla can do, but we haven't seen Christmas Chilla. Santa Chilla, I should say. Ho ho ho. He looks somewhat out of place in this lush tropical environment, but it's an artistic juxtaposition, we'll call it. You'll notice this rubble plinth here. If you want to find yourself another rock time, bring the rocks over here, you can actually form a ramp, and that ramp can be used then to get to some more elemental fruit. Also, in here, it's a place that quite a few people miss. This is the treasure cave. It was, once upon a time, the area where I believe Deep Blue got his grubs from, and that's where you'd evolve him back into an adult monster from his baby form. Now it's just a bonus area, but there's a lot of interesting NPCs and treasure and runes and things to find in there. So I will leave that for you guys to discover. Next time we'll head back to the battlefield and off to the snowy village, off to a snow temple to put Santa Chilla to use. Thank you very much once again for watching, and I will see you next time.